Alrighty, what's up? We're doing some tubs today. We got this thing right here. This was a trailer fender that I got from Tractor Supply Co. You can pick these things up for like 30 bucks. Pretty much the plan is chop it right in half, bring one of them Johnnies over, and weld it in here. Started prepping the area and everything. Also going to stitch weld some of these seams for the strut towers. And then another structural thing is I want to do the power brace where it's like a bar across and then you reinforce the bottom of these guys, and then front end's going to be mint. And then that's like one of the last things we have to do to this engine bay before we could start doing paint stuff. There's like one more hole that I forgot about down there. I have to patch and then kind of blend all of the patches. And then we should be golden. So I made a template for the curve that we're gonna have to cut into the top. Bam. So I'm gonna cut this out. Okay, so these are cut in half. We got our line traced on there. So once that section's cut out, I think it should be at the perfect length, because at first they were a bit too long, but cutting that out should be just enough material to where we're like below the seam weld and then hitting right there on that piece. We got this one cut, sitting pretty much where I want it. So I'm not doing the angled thing to where it like makes it flush with the frame rail. I'm just gonna make like a step that comes this way and then run a piece up on it. And then of course, just like I'm gonna cover up all of this with a flat piece of sheet metal. The only iffy thing is like there's a gap between here and here, and I'm not too sure I'm gonna fill that because that goes all the way up to the top. So that'll be a fun thing to figure out. So I went through and kind of marked out all the points that I'm gonna stitch weld. I did it every 1.5 inches, coming around here, up here and there. And I'm not just gonna be doing like the little tack welds. I'm actually gonna be doing like small beads because supposedly that's way better and the tacks actually don't do much. So it's time to get welding. Stitch welding is all done. Welds came out alright. I wish I prepped the metal better, but I didn't. And some of the welds had some contaminants in there and it was welding like crap, but oh well. Paint will hide some of it, but they're strong. So these are both pretty much in place. Had that little plate down here because it was too short. So next I'm going to trace out side pieces, and then once I do that, then I'll be able to actually tack these in place, and then we'll start getting all the pieces together for what we need to cover up the sides. Instead of going straight down with the side piece and then having like a step, I looked up pictures and I think it looks fine to have this side piece like angled and having it come in and like angle, because there's a pretty big gap between the strut tower and everything. It would be cool if it like angled back and like merged with it, and that's what a lot of people do. So we'll do that, and pretty much it'll just be like a little triangle step that comes in right here to fill it in. Alrighty, so the side pieces are made. You can see that it kind of slopes out right there, and then it comes over. And then got this part coming up off the frame rail, and then we're just gonna make a triangle for here, and then the back plate that's gonna seal it off. And then I know there's a big gap here. Instead of welding it, I might just use like a body filler, some Bondo. Kind of want to like blend them in and make them look like really clean, but we'll see what happens. And then yeah, right here I'm gonna weld all this up because it's flush, and then grind it, and it should be pretty smooth right here too. And the sides all tacked up. Got the side pieces made, And then I made templates for those two pieces. And then I realized something, there's like a gap in here. I talked about it earlier and I was like, how am I gonna fill that? Well, I realized I can use expanding foam and just blast that up in there, and then that'll seal it. And then just Bondo back there to merge it, and then I might use seam sealer on some of it, but most of it's gonna be welded all the way up, so it should be all good. Both sides are pretty much tacked in place. Time to do a crap load of welding. Whole seam there, up there, there. It'll be a great time. And I really like this design. Pretty happy with it. Been tacking away on these things. I ran out of welding gas, so probably like tomorrow I'll pick up some, but it's coming out good. I definitely think I can grind this down and make it seamless, and down here a bit, and then leave the welds here, and then this will be seamless hopefully too. Okay, so it's been a while since I've picked up the camera. It's been about a week. Right now, prepping for paint. Here's the engine bay right now. It's all primered. Tubs are all worked over. Holes are patched. It came out alright. I mean, I had to Bondo that, and not as seamless as I want it to be, but I really want to get this done. That's kind of why I didn't film some of it too, is I just wanted to grind away at it and get it over with. So the setup right now, have the easy up set up in the garage. I'm gonna lay tarps down on the grounds on the sides. It's pretty cold right now. It's about like 58 degrees out, so I have a little space heater running, getting the garage warm, and then once we're enclosed, I'm gonna put it in here, let it sit for about an hour so we can get our material we're painting on warm. My painting setup, we have this beautiful Harbor Freight air compressor. Specs are right there. We have Husky spray gun, which is over there. And then the plan is a 2-stage paint job. So I'm gonna do black base with a orange pearl in it, and then orange flake in the clear coat. This is my first time painting. I hope it goes well. I've been doing a lot of prep work, wet sanded the primer. We're using some strong cleaners to clean it, tack cloth, and then getting all the dust out and stuff. So hopefully it works out. That'd be pretty cool. I'm probably not going to film too much of the spraying process. I'll just kind of shoot some clips of how it's going. Hopefully it looks good. Alrighty, so here's what I'm working with. We have some generic black base, Valspar, not like super fancy or expensive. Only bought a pint because it's 1-to-1 mix ratio, so I'll have a quart to spray with the reducer. Just got a big thing of reducer, and then mixed it 1-to-1, and then I have my flake right here, vivid orange, which is going to go in the clear, and then right here we have just orange pearl that I added. I looked up the ratios, so I mixed 400 milliliters, which is about a pint, a little less, and it calls for like half a tablespoon for half a quart, and half a quart is a pint. So that's how much I put in there. So that's all mixed up. I sprayed my first coat. I just skimmed it, missed it or whatever, super light. The gun's spraying really well, or it feels like it is, but yeah, just so we have something to stick the paint to. Have the heater going, so I'm gonna wait like probably 5 minutes for this coat to dry, and then the thicker base coats I'll probably wait like 8 to 10 minutes. I'm probably only gonna do like 2 base coats, that's what I'm hoping for, and then like 5 coats of clear. Probably 3 coats of clear with flake in it, and then 2 coats of clear without flake, and that should look good. Okay, so the base is laid and all done. Now I did like 3 or 4 coats of base, kind of sucks, but a lot of areas were really hard to get to, and I kept looking back at it and being like, oh, I gotta get here, gotta get there, and then I was figuring out settings on the gun and stuff, but I think it's okay now for clear. I'm gonna let it sit for a half hour and then blast it. They're laid pretty well. I got some drips that I'm pretty upset about, but hopefully I can wet sand those out. I'm not gonna wait for the base to dry and then sand it and then clear it because I want to get it done tonight. So I'm just gonna send the clear and then hopefully I can wet sand it out. So here's how we're looking. On camera I guess it looks black for the most part, but I don't know. Some light it looks brown, some light it looks, I don't know. So on the camera it looks black, and then in some light it looks brown, but I don't know, you can kind of tell that it's orange pearl. But yeah, overall I think it came out not too bad. The drips are pretty bad though. I gotta figure that out. Alrighty, it's been about 2 days since I finished the paint job, and here it is. Not too bad. I ended up doing 5 coats of clear. So that orange flake really pops. I dig that. And I don't know, it's kind of like a gold brown pearl. It's supposed to be orange, but I dig it. I'm a fan. The strut towers and the tops of the tubs ended up laying pretty flat. I'm happy about that. The finish is good. A little orange peel in some spots, but you know, the main concern areas are all good. I haven't tried wet sanding the drips out, but they're not too noticeable just because they're lower right there. And then once the engine's in, might not even see them. So I'm like overall happy with it. First 2-stage paint job came out pretty good. It'll look even better once the engine's in there. Plan for the brake lines is I'm gonna there's like a braided loom for wires, and I'm just gonna put that over the brake lines since they're detached right now. That should clean it up a bit. And then I didn't paint the power brace or whatever you want to call these, because I'm gonna weld in the bar across and then pull it out, so reinforce the bottoms and then paint it outside the car, so I didn't bother with that. Then that's already painted. So yeah, engine bay, I would call it done. Like, I am fully satisfied with this. There's another shot of that. Hopefully it looks good on camera. And like the seams, pretty well seamed into the strut towers. I'm happy with that. All the holes are patched. The black does hide some of the bad bodywork spots, like this seam coming around onto the flat. Like you can barely notice with the paint that, like you can see like right here how it's not perfect. And then the core support came out pretty good. Alrighty, coming over to the list right here. This is a big one. Finish that bullshit engine bay and tubs. That's the front power brace I talked about. We'll get there. We'll get there. Another thing, we got the drive shaft made. I don't know if I talked about that last video. I went to Driveline Services in Sacramento, and there's the drive shaft. I just gave them the length. They got new yokes and everything for it, and they knocked it out in 2 days. 2 days, crazy. If you're in NorCal and you need a drive shaft, go to Driveline Services in West Sac. Great place, really nice people. So the engine bay is done. What we're doing now, working on the engine. I already kind of stripped it down and started doing some stuff. I don't know how much I'm gonna film, because I'm not doing anything crazy. Just, I already did the valve cover gaskets, new plugs, do plenum gaskets, got like a new pulley, Mishimoto thermostat that I'm gonna put on there, colder thermostat, and then rear main seal, and then that should be about it, and then it'll be ready to throw in there. So the crank ventilation system, I might run a catch can. I ran this engine for like 20 seconds twice, and I already saw oil coming out of this guy in the line, so that makes me kind of worried about blow by. But I'll just run a catch can or something. Not gonna run these back into the intakes, this guy, just because like on the throttle bodies, the flap, there's a lot of crud and stuff on there. I don't want any more of that, so either catch can or just dump to the ground. And then I'm gonna kind of clean up the front of this. I kind of want to bring this big wire, this is a starter wire, to the back so it looks cleaner. And then just other little things to clean up the engine. Also gotta do the heater core, gotta run that line. I'm deleting the water lines to the throttle bodies. So I'll kind of explain that. We got one of the throttle bodies right here. So these are electronic. As you can see, there's water lines in there. Now, when I first was like researching these, I was like, oh, okay, so like these get hot because they're used constantly. This is to cool it down. Well, it's actually an emissions thing. It warms up your intake temperatures from what I've heard, and like it helps them operate, your throttle bodies operate when it's cold, but I don't think it's that big a deal, drift car. So I'm deleting those lines. It's gonna make the whole system easier to bleed, because these are a pain to bleed from what I've read. So that's pretty much this line capped, and then this line right here capped. And then yeah, I think that'll be, yeah, that should be solid. And then more talking, I got all my exhaust stuff ordered so that next week hopefully the engine will be in, and then everything will be good to go, and then all I have to do is make the exhaust. That's the goal next week. Today is December 10th, 12th, something like that. I want the car to be done before the year ends. That is the goal. I want to be driving it and have it solid so we can start the new year sending it at some events. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you for watching. Hopefully we'll finish this car.